Hey guys, I'm Will from Tested.
And I'm Norm from Tested.
Norm, we're back at the table again. There's two game controllers in front of you. One of them has a big giant screen hooked on it. What are we looking at today?
It's not actually a game controller. This I have in front of me is Nvidia's Shield.
Now that looks like a game controller.
It does. It does look like a game controller, but like you said, there is a 5-inch screen just kind of slapped on the top of it. But it's not just a game controller. It's a handheld game console.
It looks like the kind of crazy thing that Ben Heck would put together with like a Sega Dreamcast or something jammed in there and a little tiny LCD screen.
Except with the resources of Nvidia.
Okay.
So Nvidia, maker of graphics cards for PCs, and now a game console. They announced at CES. It was a big surprise. It's finally out. We've been using it for about a month, playing games on it, using it. It runs Android, as you can see right here. So we're going to talk about this as how it functions as an Android device, because it's $300.
Like the primary use, at least right now, is that it is a way to play Android games with physical controls.
Yeah.
And it's essentially a high-powered cell phone.
There are three ways to look at the Nvidia Shield.
Okay.
One is it's a pure Android device. It's running Android 4.2. You can download any Android app from the Play Store, or most of them at least. The second way to look at it is, like you said, playing Android games with a controller. And the third way is this special PC streaming feature, which we'll go in depth about in just a moment. So let's start with this as just pure Android device. And that means we have to talk about the hardware inside, because it's not just controller. I have right next to it a Xbox controller. And it looks kind of similar.
They're both black.
So let's talk about the hardware inside before we talk about the layouts and stuff.
It's a Tegra 4.
It's running Nvidia's Tegra 4. This is their highest-end ARM system on a chip. It's ARM Cortex A15. So about a year ago, all of them was Cortex A9s, all your Snapdragon crates. That's just fancier A9s. This is actually A15.
It's a quad-core?
It is. Quad-core has many, many cores. It has tons of Nvidia graphics. They say 72 cores. Doesn't really matter. What matters is that it's going to be the best ARM processor, one of the best ones you can get right now in any Android device.
Can you play Android games on it?
You can run any Android app.
Are they fast?
Basically, they are very fast.
Okay, that's all I care about.
Yeah, there's I want to say 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of storage. On the back here, I can't show all the ports, but there are plenty of ports in the back. We're plugged into HDMI right now, so you can get a live feed.
There's an audio. Mini HDMI or micro?
It's mini. So it's not the kind of micro that goes into a laptop. It's the mini one, just smaller, flatter one. There's a micro USB port, and it comes with a wall wart and a cable to charge it. That's how you charge it. And then a headphone jack, which is how you're getting audio right now. In addition, there's a ton of sensors inside here.
How big is the screen?
It's 5 inches.
5 inches, and what's the resolution?
It's a 1280 by 720. So 720p, 5-inch screen. That's pretty standard. I mean, it's what you're going to get in like a Galaxy Note or something, the first-gen Galaxy Note. It's
kind of like a year. I mean, a lot of the phones now are shipping with 1080p screens.
Yeah, I don't think this needs a 1080p screen. It's IPS, so I'm going to show the viewing angles.
It has great viewing angles. I can see it from here even at a real shallow angle. It looks like it's pretty close to the surface, but not as close as, say, like the HTC One.
You're also never holding this as close as you would a phone to your face, so it doesn't really matter as much. It's touchscreen. And like all touchscreens, there's a capacitive layer on top. If you shine this in bright light, you can actually see the grid for the capacitive touch.
So it's a multi-touch screen, though.
Multi-touch screen. And then 16 gigs of storage. There's also a micro SD slot inside here, so you can put 32, 64 gigs of micro SD storage.
Kind of important here because a lot of the larger, especially if you're playing old console ports or like the Square Enix games, some of them are 3-4 gigs each, and that adds up really fast. Or movies,
or if you want to just transfer movies on here and watch movies on here, you can do that as well. And then there's a huge battery inside. It's a 28 watt-hour battery, which is massive.
That's enormous,
It's like more than twice what you get in like a PS Vita or any other smartphone. And then the hardware. So it looks like a controller, and you can tell that they really wanted to mimic this Xbox controller.
But it's kind of a tweener design because the second thumbstick is in the bottom, like the PS3, PS4 controllers.
So on the right side, you have your XABY, which is basically the same layout. You have a D-pad on the right, and then you have 2 thumbsticks on the bottom, and they are clicky thumbsticks. So
it is basically current generation standard controls with the PS3 analog stick layout.
But not nearly as comfortable for a couple reasons.
Yeah, I didn't think it was very comfortable.
So the Xbox controller is very light because there's no hard.
There's nothing in there.
It's nothing there. It's rumble motors, and that's it. And Microsoft has kind of perfected this design. So if you're gripping the controller, and if you look at the back, it's actually it's angled here, like a pretty wide angle, because your natural resting pose has your thumb and angle here.
Yeah, so your arms in the neutral position meet up where the controller is. It's really comfortable.
You're not straining your arms or your thumbs at all. My thumbs fully extended, rest on the thumbsticks.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm bending them to move them, and it's easy to click, and the shoulder buttons are also easy to access.
Yeah, and at the same time, you can hit the shoulder buttons and the triggers. You can either use one finger to switch back and forth, or you can even bring up your middle fingers and have fingers on the bumpers and the triggers.
Basically, every button on here is accessible in the neutral position without having to shift your palm
too much
anywhere.
Yeah.
If we look at the design of the Shield, though, it's actually not nearly as angled in the back.
It's straight up and down.
It's not perfectly parallel, but it's like only slightly angled.
It's like a 15-degree angle instead of a 35.
I don't know the exact amount, but it's definitely less angled than the Xbox 360 controller.
I have a protractor.
And what that means is that I feel like my palms are being squished here. Like I have if you look at my wrist.
You have negative wrist angle, which you're not supposed to do.
I'm bending here. Yeah. Yep, this negative wrist angle here. And my thumbs in their natural resting position don't land on top of the thumbsticks. I have to bend down like that.
They're too low. Yeah. The upshot is, I mean, we're getting really nitty-gritty here.
But this is important.
I understand. But what I'm saying is, when I played this for 3 hours, my wrists were uncomfortable in a way that I don't generally get using a
Nvidia
Xbox or even PS3 controller.
They're not polished in designing gamepads just yet. I wish it was a straight rip-off of the 360 controller. They obviously couldn't do that because of patents, and so this is the closest they could get without getting sued by Microsoft or anyone else. So that's the hardware.
There's a speaker in there as well?
There's speakers in the
front. So you don't have to use headphones if you don't want to.
Pretty loud speakers right here. There's an array of, this like quad array of buttons here, which I actually don't like, and I'm going to go through them right now. In the center is this Nvidia Tegra Zone button. If you press this, you'll launch into the Tegra Zone app, which is the main launching hub for all most of your games.
Okay, so this is kind of like an Android front end that lives on top of the normal launcher?
Yep. I'm going to go back to Home. So Home button is here. Start button is above the Home button. Back button is here, and what I realize they're switched basically. I wish the Home button was up here and the Start button is here because my start and back
You
makes
have to
sense.
use this for games sometimes.
Yep.
Especially PC stuff.
Start and back makes sense, and what I'm finding is that when I'm playing and I think I'm hitting start, I'm actually hitting home, and that pops me back.
I did the exact same thing.
To the home screen.
And it stunk. Especially, I mean, it depends on whether you're primarily using this to play Android games or PC games.
Regardless, the home button should not be that accessible if this is a console made for gaming.
Fair enough.
And if you want to access Google Now, it's just a hold down, or actually hold down for your multitasking, and a double tap to launch Google Now. So it's still Android. There's a volume button here, and I actually don't like it because if I tap it, it actually brings up a heads-up volume button.
Yeah, it's a soft volume button. I really wanted a hardware volume button.
There is an option that if you tap the volume button, then your shoulder buttons become volume buttons.
That's crazy.
But that gets in the way if you're playing a game, you want to change volume.
Yeah.
I'd rather have dedicated volume buttons, positioned somewhere else.
Okay, so looking at how this is going to be purely a landscape device.
Yes. It's not great for Android.
I can't imagine that yet. If you ever have to use the on-screen keyboard, it's got to really suck.
Let's demo that. So I'm going to launch a browser, and you have your browser here, and if you want to bring up a keyboard, it pops up on the bottom, and you basically have to hold it like this to type in, and it's very, very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable to browse the web using the touchscreen. Because it's a gamepad, and basically the gamepad functions like as if you plugged a gamepad into any Android tablet or phone, using the thumbstick will bring up a cursor.
Okay.
And so, I mean, that's kind of useful, but again, you're never going to be really browsing the web or selecting things with this cursor.
Android has okay support for the gamepad. I found you can for most modern Android devices you can buy. I think it's called an MHL adapter that basically makes your micro USB port into a host port. And then you can plug a normal Xbox gamepad in and play games like Max Payne or older Xbox One games.
So
original
the type of apps you're going to put on this are your passive social media stuff. Yeah. You're going to put Twitter on here. Twitter works. You put your music players on here. Spotify works.
Movie viewers like Amazon Store, Play Store, that kind of stuff.
What this is actually really good for is for movie playback.
I gotta imagine because it just sits at a natural position that you can put on your tray table in the airplane or whatever.
This gamepad here is a stand,
yeah.
And this screen actually goes all the way back, so it's very rich. The weight is down here, so it's not going to topple over.
Kind of expensive for something to watch movies.
Absolutely. But again, Netflix, you run into the problem where Netflix wants to run in the portrait mode.
Kinda, like,
you got to tilt your head.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
Or you got to hold it up like that.
Perfect. Why not?
The movie, of course, plays back in the landscape mode, but it's not optimized right now.
That still sucks.
It does play whatever movies you want. It's great for Twitch. So actually, let me.
So you're watching your StarCraft?
I put this on the side of my. It's better than putting a tablet next to my computer, propping up against a couple books.
Well, I got to think if you're laying in bed, you put this, you just rest it on your chest, and you're good to go, right?
Yep. And then you can just launch your Twitch, and there's actually a really good Wi-Fi radio in here.
Okay.
It's a dual band Wi-Fi radio.
And so ABN?
ABN, 5 gigahertz, 2.4 gigahertz, 2x2. And I actually did this a lot, where I ran Twitch with StarCraft on one screen, and then I was actually playing on my desktop right next to it.
So you were watching StarCraft while you were playing StarCraft?
Well, I was browsing the web.
Okay.
So let's launch out of Twitch. And of course, you can also move all your whatever videos you want from your computer over.
Yeah.
MX Player is a great player, and it'll let you play MKVs.
Did you find that like your stuff that you've ripped using Handbrake or whatever, or make MKV work okay?
All works great. It's just
Android. That doesn't look real good, Norm.
It does not work on the HDMI right now, but if you can see right here, it's working fine. And this is destroying a Rock Band guitar. I'm going to quit out of here and get back to the home screen.
Okay, so Shield's not so hot for an Android device. I guess it's okay for watching video.
I think it's really good for watching video,
yeah.
Especially since there's a HDMI out port, and I just ran into a DRM. So if I'm playing something from Google Play, it actually won't let us.
Oh, we can't just pipe it out.
We can't pipe it out.
We're using unsupported.
Yes.
Right.
And I'll show you the big X.
Oh, is this going to give us the you are not authorized?
Big X. Can you see that? Big X. Nope, you can't pipe DRM content out over
our capture stuff. Yeah. How does it do with games?
Okay, so Android games. And for this, I'm going to launch into Tigre Zone.
Okay. That sounds very marketing-y.
We're going to launch into Tigre Zone.
I don't want to go to the Tigre Zone, man.
We're now in the Tigre Zone.
No, I don't want to go to the Tigre Zone, Norm.
Tigre Zone is just a front end.
It's
just a front end. The Shield store here, it's curated by Nvidia, but it really, if you want to buy anything, it'll just launch into the Play Store.
Oh, okay, so it's not like I have to put my credit card in and give my credit card to Nvidia.
So it's just an interface. And
it's just a front end for Tigre games.
It goes right into the Play Store. So we're not going to buy new games. It does come with 2 games.
Okay.
The 2 games it comes with is Sonic 4 Episode 2,
that
which is
sound good.
Not a great game. No. I'm not going to demo it. I think it's a good port of a bad game.
Has there ever been a good Sonic game?
Yeah.
After the first one? Green Hill Zone?
People have fond memories of Sonic.
I understand that.
The other game it comes with is Expendable Rearmed, which I think is a perfect example of a game designed for Android players.
Is this a movie game?
No, it's not the Sylvester Stallone game.
Okay.
I think this is a perfect example of a game that was designed for touchscreens, for tablets and smartphones, but also works really well with the gamepad controls.
So is it a twin-stick shooter?
It is exactly right. It is a twin-stick shooter.
Oh, hey, and player 459804.
It actually does not let me use the D-pad in that menu. I'll play it for a few seconds right here, and like twin-stick shooter looks great. This is Tigre 4 in action. You get all these particle effects. You got color lights. It's fancy.
Man, this looks pretty extreme.
And you know what? This is just—it's a very casual game. It's not challenging at all.
Well, there is such a thing as a challenging twin-stick shooter.
Right, but this is not it. Okay. This is a free bundled in-game on Android. It's going to be like a couple bucks. It's not a.
You just mercy killed that guy.
It's not a high-end. I'm not going to be very challenged playing this. It's fun, relaxing.
It doesn't look like you're having fun.
I'm having fun. You just can't tell.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I'm going to quit out, hit the home button.
That's a good idea.
Actually, get back into Tigre Zone.
Let's see some hardcore Android games.
I'll show you a good Android port of a decent game. Here's Crazy Taxi.
Oh no, this is. Wow.
I like Crazy Taxi.
Crazy Taxi's been on everything forever and ever.
And you know what? Crazy Taxi is really fun on the Shield because you have the gamepad controls. And
really?
Again,
do you think Crazy Taxi is still fun, though?
I think it's still fun.
I think Crazy Taxi peaked about 1999.
I'm going to go quickly launch.
Wow, that has a lot of choices there.
You have the arcade mode.
Okay, so what are your controls like? Do most Android games work with the physical controls?
Yes, most do.
Okay.
Some will solve the overlays.
So like it's where the sticks show up, it shows you
where
thumbsticks as if you're
the
touching
on-screen
the screen.
overlay.
Okay.
Some are smart enough to know that when you have a gamepad plugged in, it won't show the overlay because your thumb's out there. And here goes crazy. I'm using the trigger and I'm driving forward.
There you go.
And it's super simple.
That taxi sure is crazy.
I mean, because it's designed for touchscreens.
Wow, the controls look terrible.
It's just left, right.
Yep.
And I'm using the trigger to drive, and there's
you got to stop and pick up a customer.
I understand. I'm not going to play with the rules.
I want to see the ocean. Oh, look at all those people.
This is also a good place to point out that on the thumbsticks, there's actually a little bit of a significant dead zone.
Okay.
So I'm going to show you. If you look at my thumb here, I'm moving, like moving. And
does the car jump if you're? Oh wow. Okay.
So it actually takes a little bit before. It's not a lag.
How does this?
It's a dead zone.
How does it compare to PS3 and Xbox controllers?
I think on the Xbox at least, it's tighter on the thumbsticks.
You mean the physical feel?
The physical feel is tighter and more responsive.
But the dead zone is smaller on the Xbox.
There's almost no dead zone on the Xbox that I can tell.
You think that's a software thing or a hardware problem?
I do not know. I think I want it to be a software thing so that they can fix it, but my feeling is that it's a hardware problem.
One of the things I noticed is that the triggers on this controller feel really, really tight compared to...
They are tighter at so it's loose at the top here, but once you get closer to the...
Do they pull straight in instead of pivoting?
No, they pivot.
Oh, they pivot, okay.
Yeah. They're tighter near the
There's
center.
more resistance the further in you get,
Yes.
right? Okay.
This is a game that actually I think is one of the best shooters on Android. It's Dead Trigger. It's about a year old now. I think it looks wonderful.
Now, just to be clear, it's terrible with touchscreen.
Not great with touchscreen. But this looks like Doom 3.
This does look like...
I'm going to walk through some water.
Are you using that as a positive or a negative?
No, Doom 3 was a great looking game.
I guess it looked great.
And
look, that's a zombie.
And I'm using a left trigger to use iron sights.
You killed that zombie good, Norm.
Oh, I got hit.
How is this? What are there sensitivity options in this game for different controllers? Like, can you jack up the sensitivity so you can turn around really fast?
In some games you can. I mean, it's pretty fast.
That does not feel like it's very fast to me.
It's faster than using the touchscreen.
It is definitely faster than using
this is a good example of a game that works really well with the gamepad and not so well with the touchscreen. And I'm of course not doing so well here because I'm trying to talk and play
of
at
course
the same time.
So I played with my Nexus 7, like the original Max Payne for Xbox was released on Android with MHL support, and like that was a great gaming experience. I gotta imagine it would run fine on this.
So this is also another good example of how first-person shooter for Android is developed. Because it's developed for a small screen, and so these zombies here are going to be pretty big. They're taking up almost, almost entire screen vertically, and horizontally maybe like a fifth of the screen when they get up to.
They're easy to hit.
They're very easy to hit. Let me show you. Let me run to them, and hope we didn't lose signal.
There we go. We're back.
So yeah, it's like even a zombie that's far away. It's pretty easy to hit.
They're pretty chunky, yeah.
And I call this out now because when we're showing, when we're going to show PC games later, that's not so much the case when we're playing a FPS designed for a PC screen.
Okay.
And so that's it for Android gaming.
How many games? I mean, there's
tons of
hundreds of thousands of games in the App Store, probably in the Play
scroll through
Store.
the list right now. There's tons.
Is this all stuff that's going to work with controls?
Yes. Anything in the Shield store here is designed to work with these controls.
With the physical controls. Yeah. And then if you go out in the Google Play Store, your mileage may vary.
Your mileage may vary there.
That is not, I mean, that's not 100,000 games. That's like maybe 50 at the outside.
The problem also is a lot of these games are the free microtransaction games, like Dead Trigger is cheap or free.
Line of Night is a microtransaction. It's a great game, but
it'll make you, it'll taunt you with buy our gold or pop-up ads every once in a while.
That's
so selection on Android still not great.
Racing stuff? Did you try Asphalt?
There's Asphalt. There's Skiing Fred, which is like it's a skiing game.
Ski free.
I think these are okay.
Okay.
Don't buy this to play Android games.
Okay. I am interested in this for the next part. For streaming PC games from my office computer into wherever I happen to be in the house, because it only works over local Wi-Fi, right?
So the way that works is that if you have a desktop computer, that has a GeForce 600 series video card or newer.
Okay.
So here on our office machine, we have a GTX 660 Ti.
This is basically, this is like mid-range.
Last year mid-range. So This is low to mid right now.
This is pretty much the slowest thing, one of the slower cards you can get that this will work with.
More affordable. It's not going to be more than, it's not going to be $500.
If you want to know if this will work with your machine, you can download the GeForce experience from Nvidia, and it will pop up and say, hey, your machine is ready for Nvidia Shield streaming, or it will say, no, you can't.
So it'll just detect these systems on your network. So for example, at home, it shows that, I connected here,
normal PC.
Testbed,
yeah.
And I can connect to it. I'll click A to browse. The first time you do it, you'll have to click you have to authenticate on the PC side just to confirm.
It pops up a thing that says, is this you?
Allows you to connect. Okay. Yep. So you can't connect to your housemates' PCs.
Okay. Did you try to do that?
Well, yes.
Okay.
And they also didn't have GeForce Experience. You need GeForce Experience for it to work.
That's the sauce that makes the whole thing connect. Okay.
This is a feature, if you see in the top left-hand corner, it says beta, because this is technically still in beta. Nvidia has rolled out half a dozen fixes for this already. It's getting better all the time. So this is the primary menu, and we're going to talk about Steam in a moment.
Yeah.
But these are games that it detects are installed on the PC.
These are Steam games.
But some are Steam games. If you had something like Crysis, it can be an Origin game.
Okay.
It's whatever's installed.
Battlefield 3.
GeForce Experience will recognize it, and it'll load up here, and you can just launch the game directly from here.
And does it just constantly keep scanning your hard drive to see what new you've bought or downloaded?
Every time you restart GeForce Experience and install something.
Okay.
So for example, something recently I've popped up, Dirt Showdown, which wasn't there like a week ago.
But it's smart enough to know that even though these are Steam games, it can launch them inside Steam. Because Bioshock Infinite's a Steam game, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, all of these are Steam games. And here you can just launch the game. We're going to demo in just a second. NVIDIA has a list of about 50 games that are supported right now.
Okay. Are these all part of their co-marketing thing, the way it's meant to be played?
No, actually some of these are AMD games. For example,
Half-Life was an AMD game.
Yeah, Dirt is actually an AMD game.
So it's not like they have to have co-marketing money or whatever. They'll put anything that works. That's good.
But even though there are only 50 technically supported games right now, you can actually launch Steam and try unsupported games.
Okay.
So we're going to do that. We're going to launch Steam, and what this will do is
living
launch
on the edge.
Steam Big Picture mode.
Okay.
What
and
you cannot do.
It's a little different than normal big picture mode, though, right? It's like streaming. It knows you're streaming.
It's streaming because you can quit out of streaming. But interface-wise, it's exactly the same as big picture mode. What you can't do is that you can't play a game on your PC and then say, I want to continue this game on Shield.
So you can't hand off.
You can't hand off.
You have to
launch
close the game, probably move away from big picture on the PC, come over here, pick up the Shield.
Launch it.
Got it.
From Shield. And we're going to try different genres of games. I think one of the best demos is Geometry Wars, which is not technically supported, but works just fine.
This is a two-stick shooter from Bizarre. This is the original Geometry Wars.
Yep, evolved, retro evolved, and
this is
D-pad works just fine. Thumbstick works just fine. I did have to change the resolution to 1280 by 720. Okay. And right now, on the PC, if I had a monitor plugged in, it would take up the full screen. Yeah. It's not like it's running minimized on that PC. It's taking whatever the output is on the graphics card and then coding that in H.264 and streaming that over
And because
Wi-Fi.
NVIDIA does this, it works at the GPU, like somewhere between the GPU and piping it out to the monitor.
So from that buffer, from the memory buffer, the video buffer, it's just encoding that video into a low resolution.
It should be relatively low lag.
That's the idea.
Okay.
And it is low lag. So I'm going to play Geometry Wars and talk while playing. And what you can immediately see if you look in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, Geometry Wars is actually a very bitrate intensive game. The grids, the blue grid in the background, the way it moves, actually is pretty demanding on video compression. And you can see the black background actually looks a little grayish.
So the direct feed video, just so people know, the direct feed video in the lower left corner of the screen is from the Shield. It's
coming
not
out from the
PC.
Shield right now.
Yeah.
And I'm playing just fine on this. And you can tell, I'll show you that the dead zone again. So you can see, oh, I died on purpose there. If I move just a little bit, you have to be pretty deliberate in your movements. I basically have to move the thumbsticks all the way to the edge.
This is a game that I play with the thumbsticks all the way at the edge, which might explain why I'm not so hot at it, but
I'm just gonna,
you used your bomb.
I did use my bomb.
Coward.
When I get to a point where like the wormholes appear, you really start to get some of the video artifacts.
So I noticed, I spent a fair amount of time with this one afternoon last week, and I found that in the early phases of this game, it was very easy, and I did start noticing lag once the world was full.
So here's a wormhole, and that's pretty demanding on the video compression.
Shoot that wormhole; it's going to explode, Norm.
I understand.
Shoot that wormhole, Norm.
And it kind of does look like watching a YouTube video more than a game that's being rendered locally.
Yeah,
there it goes. That's pretty fancy.
So, but the thing I'm interested about isn't the video lag; it's the control. Like, did you feel like you weren't able to play the game because the controls?
No, I felt
were
like
bad?
I was perfectly able to play the game with a good connection.
So I had trouble once you got to higher levels. Like I found that once, like there's a noticeable difference between using the Xbox controller on a monitor and using the Shield to play when the timing required to go thread the needle between stuff was very precise.
I think that's more indicative of the poor control design on the hardware.
You think so?
For that dead zone than it is the lag.
So when I was playing a platform, unfortunately we have Super Meat Boy here, but it doesn't work with the Shield.
We're going to show Spelunky.
Oh, okay. Spelunky isn't super timing intensive.
It is not. Super Meat Boy is a game I really wanted to test.
Yeah.
Some people have said it works. It worked for them. I tried it here and at home.
Nothing.
Didn't work at all. And I'll demo Super Meat Boy at the very end to show you a situation where
I played Rogue Legacy, which I don't think you have on your Steam account. I found it to be like the lag was a little bit like I wouldn't want to do daily challenges in Spelunky using the Shield probably.
So here, Spelunky is again a game that's not officially supported, but it works.
You already played today's daily challenge.
Oh, I did. I'll start a new game.
Can I plug in an Xbox controller and play? I bet I couldn't.
It actually deactivates. Your Xbox controller will not recognize the input.
Huh.
But that's actually a hack that some people use. If you start with the Xbox controller plugged in and then unplug it, it'll switch over to the Shield control, and that's how you can get support.
That's how you get Meat Boy to work. Weird.
2D looks wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean,
Geometry Wars is a 2D game too.
But it's different because, like, for example, the way video compression works, the way JPEG compression works, it looks from frame to frame and see what's changed. If I'm moving just the character from left to right here, what's changing is very little.
A tiny little square with 64 pixels.
And you know, even if I'm moving along a map and the map is changing, it's very linear, the changes. Geometry Wars, you have this complex grid in the back. And
the whole screen is constantly changing.
And it's diagonal, and you have particle effects. Like, I think this looks wonderful. And this looks not like a YouTube video, especially on the Shield screen. This looks like it's actually being rendered here.
Well, the compression quality is good, but I still feel like there's a little bit of control latency.
So I'm going to quit out of here. That's a demo of a side-scroller. I think side-scrollers, slow, medium-speed side-scrollers, something like Bionic Commando Rearmed, Spelunky, they'll be just fine.
So my takeaway from the time I spent with this is that I would never use this for anything that I was going after like a high score or like doing my Spelunky daily challenge or something like that. But I would totally use it to play big, dumb, story-driven AAA titles that I couldn't play on the big TV or in the office for whatever reason. In my lap in the house.
And yeah, this is great for sitting in your bed or on the couch.
Yeah.
And not being, and for lean back games. For example, I'm going to try launching, and this might not work because I had problems with this earlier. Dirt Showdown, and here goes. This is a perfect example of where
it's dropped out a big picture, and it's given you this is normal Steam on some sort of weird background.
And this is exactly what I see on the Shield right now. If we switch back, it's a virtual desktop.
Yeah.
And that's basically how Shield works. It's running some type of virtual desktop. I'm not sure if it's Splash Top.
Okay.
Some people have said it is Splash Top. It's an app and service that you can actually download for Nexus devices and Android devices to actually get virtual desktop.
To stream out?
To stream out from desktop. And there's a Splash Top THD, which works for gaming.
Okay.
But if I didn't have a mouse, and I didn't have access to the PC, I would actually have to go back into my PC room, my office, and
get up off the couch.
And the experience is not seamless.
Okay.
That's why it's still in beta. So I'm gonna launch Dirt right now, and Dirt is a game that is supported. That's why it launched outside of Steam. And this game looks wonderful.
Even though it launched outside of Steam, you still were able to. So you need big picture mode to be supported, controllers to be supported in Steam, or for the game, and then also for the Shield to know what to do with each particular game, it seems like. But it still worked, even though you had to shell out and use the mouse. Okay.
I didn't have to restart. Sometimes if it crashes and I have to reboot Tiered Zone, my computer will be stuck in, or it'll be switched to 1280.
You have to walk in and Alt F4 or whatever to get out of it.
Or I have to go change the resolution at least, and it'll screw up all my desktop icons.
Oh yeah, it's the Dalek Fada.
This is a great example of how undemanding Shield streaming is on your graphics card.
Okay.
Because we're running a 660 Ti, it's just running at 720p. This is all max graphics.
This is a low resolution for a PC these days.
For PC, but it's basically the same resolution as what's going to be playing on your Xbox.
Yeah.
Scaled up.
A 360 or a PS3.
And dirt racing game. This looks wonderful, and I'm getting like basically
There's a little bit of frame hitch. It looks like almost.
Well, it's a 30 FPS stream.
Okay.
And Dirt is a 60 FPS game.
Okay.
You actually can't even turn to below 50 hertz.
So it's doing like a 3.2 pull down or something to get to where it needs to be, or is it just only showing every other frame?
I'm not exactly sure. Nvidia says they're working on 60 FPS in the future. That was their target, and that's still their goal currently.
I wonder if that's limited by the hardware in the machine, because I mean, I don't know.
I know what you're watching right now on the HDMI is a little different from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I'm watching something that's double processed. That's true.
On the screen, on the Shield screen, this looks wonderful. It looks like it's being rendered locally. I can barely see any of the artifacts. I'm going to quit out right now. I mean, the menu icons I didn't think were too small either. So racing games.
I didn't have a problem playing shooters or the games that I tried. Like it seemed it was playing Spelunky on the Shield, playing Spelunky on a Vita. Very analogous.
Yes.
Like it felt like. I was listening to a podcast here where somebody said Spelunky felt like it was the future, what I would have imagined the future of video games would be in the SNES age. And that seemed right, and it worked on a handheld environment. Like when you get into stuff like Bioshock Infinite, where there's a fair amount of text on the screen, and there's some other stuff going on, I gotta imagine it's a little weird. I didn't play Bioshock, but I did play some Saints Row.
We'll show both of those. Bioshock hopefully will launch. It once again jumped me to desktop. And
all good.
This is Bioshock Infinite. This I thought was a perfect example of where first-person shooters fail on the Nvidia Shield.
You think it's now? Did they fail because of the controls, or did they fail because of the streaming? Because there's always every pixel is going to be moving all the time.
Game design.
Okay.
Because the game design is set up so, and I'll show you if I'll play one of the DLCs, which is a perfect example. Again, the game looks great. I'm running in ultra settings, 720p resolution.
And then compressing it down to H.264 and streaming it across your Wi-Fi.
And when you're in any type of fast-paced shooter, like unlike in Dead Trigger, which we saw earlier, where units basically took up a big part of your screen. I have to actually do all this again. Controls, I mean, it's Xbox controls, and I'm gonna load this real quickly. The units in Bioshock Infinite and other shooters I play, like for example Crysis 3, very, very tiny, very difficult to shoot. Is it like
especially if you're shooting somebody, it seems like it's the distance from the character to you. Like in that Dead Trigger game, it seems like you're supposed to engage them at 10 to 5 feet away. Whereas in this, you're supposed to engage them from 30 or 40 yards.
That's a consequence of game design. Because this is a game designed for big screen TVs, for Xboxes, and on PCs where people have 24-inch monitors. And even though the pixel density may be analogous, it's all about the physical size of the screen that you're looking at. So
these pixels are a lot smaller for the same resolution than they would be on a 50-inch 720p TV if that existed today.
I'm going to show you really quickly. You know, enemies, and look how small that reticle is. Like that enemy on that platform right there, I can't see him.
So it's funny because I'm watching on a TV. It looks normal on the TV, but when you watch on the actual screen of the Shield, it's really hard to see. And I notice you're watching the actual TV. You're not even watching the Shield.
Like that dude who's relatively close to me, he's taking up maybe a fourth of the height on here. And his silhouette, Chloe agrees.
Yeah, Chloe doesn't like
the silhouette of characters. Just it's not optimized for this small screen.
Hey, you just got an achievement. Congratulations.
Like people on the platforms there, I can barely.
I can't see them on the TV.
Yeah.
Can you? What if you right trigger in? Do you only have the pistol?
It just doesn't work. It's not very playable for something that even on Xbox was designed for a gamepad.
So for third-person stuff, I found it a little bit better because then
third-person is
a different experience,
and we'll try that right now. So Bioshock Infinite. Again, I want to compare this with that Dead Trigger game we had earlier. If you look at a game made for a 5-inch, made for a 4-inch screen for Android versus something made for a 24 or bigger inch. I mean,
it's why there's not a lot of sniper
I put my
games.
face up on there, and units will technically be about the same size, but you never want to play that way.
It's not a comfortable way to play, especially since you have to have the controls.
One last demo.
Did you try any strategy stuff?
Didn't try any strategy stuff.
Okay.
I mean, strategy stuff didn't work with gamepads.
Right.
And I can't plug a USB controller on
Why
the
would you
Shield.
plug a USB mouse and keyboard in? What about like real timing sensitive stuff like fighting? I mean, neither of us are particularly skilled fighting game
So
players.
I can't evaluate that because I'm not sensitive that type of game.
Right, I don't see frames like somebody who's good at a fighting game would. This was Saints Row. Yeah.
Not officially supported also.
Okay.
Had to change the resolution. My best experience was with Saints Row.
Okay.
A third person.
On the PC stuff? Or just overall?
Overall.
Okay.
Best experience playing a game like Saints Row in terms of how impressed I was by such a good looking game being, I mean, Crysis looked amazing on here, but I didn't have any fun playing it. Saints Row looks great on here, and I had a lot of fun playing it.
Okay. I played, this is what I spent the most of my time in, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. You bought a bunch of DLC.
Yeah. We entered the simulation.
You have a green lady.
It's the She-Hulk.
Okay, Lady Hulk. That makes sense.
I feel that the sassy personality of She-Hulk is embodied in Saints Row.
What's She-Hulk's real name?
Jennifer Walters.
Okay. Yeah, this looks great.
The game looks great, and the reason third-person action games work, like Assassin's Creed and Batman Arkham City, is that because your camera's behind the person, the pivot, you're never turning as fast as you would you need to in a first person.
Well, and you have a wider field of view too.
You have a much wider field of view. You don't need to be as precise.
As a result, too, you're generally not fighting people super far away.
And running around this town, playing this game, tons of fun. I played about 3 hours of Saints Row just on the Shield, and actually preferred playing it on the Shield over on the couch over on my desk, because I think this is almost a lean
Look
back
at all
game.
those clusters you haven't picked up yet.
I know you have every single cluster.
I feel like the only thing that kind of bummed me out of the time that I spent playing on the Shield was that like you kind of lose the grandeur of the big game of the cutscene or whatever that you have from playing on a big TV or big monitor. Like it feels a little bit smaller and maybe not an awesome way. Wow, you can punch at the same time you have those guys picked up. I didn't know
you know
that.
what? Saints Row actually specifically works really well in this because the theme of the game is like corruption of like a virtual reality, and so you don't notice any of the artifacting because
you don't know if it's Shield or if it's the way the game's supposed to be played. Comfort level over a long period of time? Not so good?
I got used to it.
Okay.
It was really...
You weren't crippled at the end?
No, my hands still work. By flipping the screen all the way up, it was really easy to... Now, I won't simulate it with the Shield, but to hold it like upside down in bed.
Oh, like lay on your back?
Lay on your back
okay.
and play a game and just wait till your arms get tired. And finally, I'll demo Super Meat Boy, which is a game...
Is it going to work? It's not going to work, is it?
I don't think it's going to work.
Sometimes it works,
and
apparently.
there it goes. It's failing already. Gamepad isn't required. I actually do not have the Xbox controller plugged in, and it crashed.
So sometimes it crashes the first time.
Perfect example.
Launch it again.
No, perfect example. If you launch something that crashes, guess what?
Oh, yeah.
You're boned.
Walk into the other room.
You got to walk into the other room.
Oh, you can't even touchscreen it?
Nope.
Oh, disappoint.
Nothing's working. It's showing my Windows desktop here. Nope, and they'll just tell me cannot stream games because of network interference.
So we should talk about this because I had a couple of instances when I was testing here at the office, which is admittedly a really high density Wi-Fi environment, where the Shield completely lost connection with the PC for a couple of seconds during a cutscene or something like that.
I'd say at most half a second. I'm sure it felt longer.
I missed most of a Saints Row cutscene, which was probably 45 seconds long.
But what happens when you lose a connection and it does come back is that you're no longer at the state you were when you lost that connection.
Yeah.
So
sometimes, it doesn't just pause the game.
Right. Like if you're playing on a desktop, and everyone who's played a desktop PC has encountered some type of sound bug or graphical bug where your graphics card is taxed and you get like a little pause, but then you just kind of wait it out, cross your fingers, and it comes back.
Yeah, it either crashes or comes back.
Right. And it comes back and you're fine. Open the side of your PC or something. But when that happens because of a network connection on the Shield, especially in something like Geometry Wars, when you come back, even half a second later, you're dead.
Your game's gone.
Your game's gone because
your million point run is completely wasted.
It's still running on the desktop side. you're just not seeing on the local side.
They need to add a thing basically that pauses the game automatically if the connection drops between the Shield and the PC.
That's one way to go about it, if they can detect that connection.
The other thing I noticed is that occasionally there's some stuttery frame lag even on kind of third-person, first-person games that you would be playing for story beats. Just don't play anything competitive with this.
You never want to play multiplayer. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's a casual game experience. Like games like Spelunky and Geometry Wars work best, but play something where it's okay if you lose a frame or two.
I think the thing somebody told me is that they thought it was good. It's a dad thing, so you can sit in the room watching your kid. You can still play a PC game when the kid's asleep. You have one in one hand, one in the other. No, it's just I was really interested in this. I think it's become a wait for second generation product because I want them to fix the controller.
Yeah, they need to
kind of work out the software side too.
Design of the controller, the PC stuff. I'm sure over time will leave beta and actually work more seamlessly.
It's already improved.
It's already already improved. Originally, there were some Windows scaling problems where if you had Windows set to 125% or something, games couldn't screen well.
Yeah.
It would skew all weird. It's $300, which is very expensive. For something that has very limited use case. Now, $300 isn't expensive if you look at the hardware.
Right. But you also have to have a $400 or $500 video card if you're not current.
Don't get this if you are in the market for a tablet. If you're in the market for a tablet, buy Nexus 7.
Yeah. Or an iPad, whatever. Sure. Look where the games you want are and buy the one you want.
If you're looking for a handheld gaming console, go buy a 3DS.
Or a Vita
or PS Vita.
If you want to play a bunch of weird indie games, Vita's pretty good.
If you want to play Spelunky?
Yeah.
Vita's pretty good. The people who should get this are the people who have desktop PCs with Nvidia cards already. They have a tablet, maybe they have a 3DS, maybe not, and they have $300 to spare.
It's also important to note, I feel like we said this at the beginning, but we didn't really make it clear. The PC streaming stuff only works when you're on the same network as your PC.
Yeah.
So you can plug your PC into the wall with Ethernet, which we've done here, connect this to your local Wi-Fi, but as soon as you take that outside of your local Wi-Fi, the streaming stops working for fairly obvious reasons. So yeah, it's not like you can play this on the bus.
You're not playing Saints Row on the bus.
I wish you could play Saints Row on the bus.
No, you can play Dead Trigger on the bus.
That doesn't sound as much fun as playing Saints Row on the bus.
Yeah.
So that's the Shield.
That's the Nvidia Shield.
Yeah.
It's out now. I don't think it's a bad device at all.
It's like a 3 meh review.
No. I think
maybe
the PC stuff
meh.
was really fun, but it's extraneous. It's like
you're paying for a beta product.
You're paying for a really cool tech demo.
Yeah.
That you can actually get some mileage out of. People are doing some interesting hacks to this. Emulators do work. I'm going to put that mention now.
So if you want to play, say, SNES games?
If you want to play PS2 games, Dolphin emulators work
Dolphin
perfectly.
works on that?
Dolphin
on the Android side?
On the Dolphin emulator, or on the PC side, and then you stream it over.
Okay.
So if you live in that kind of household where you have a good Wi-Fi connection, you have a desktop PC with an NVIDIA card, and you maybe want to play some Dolphin games on the couch, this is actually really good for that.
But you wouldn't trade up your existing video card
I wouldn't
and
trade
buy
up,
this just to get what you...
I wouldn't buy a new video card. I wouldn't trade a tablet. I wouldn't trade the PS Vita or 3DS to get this instead.
This is anyway, that's great. It's Nvidia Shield. It's $300. It's out now. You can get it where? At Nvidia.com?
You can get it online, and I think they have a partnership with GameStop where you can buy it at GameStops.
So there you go. We'll be back with more from Tested.com soon. I'm Will.
I'm Norm.
See you guys later.